Welcome to another edition of the Wonderberry Podcast.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Dave.
You can find us online at wonderberry.com.
You can find me online at Open Darkwing.
And you can find me hanging around downtown by myself, and I've had too much caffeine, I was thinking about myself.
What's going on, my friend? It's a little later in the week than we usually do this.
Yeah, I'm going to have to bust ass and get this one out.
Now, thankfully, we run pretty much almost exclusively direct to print anyway, so it's not as terrible as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
But a bonus of us delaying out a few days that you got to finish Picard Season 3.
Yep. Watched all 10 episodes.
So, I don't know how we want to do this. Do we want to try to keep this thing spoiler free or tell everybody immediately this is going to be spoilers?
I don't know. I mean, our two listeners probably
All right.
should have known by now that they need to watch it.
Yeah. And it has been a week or so after, or 2 weeks or whatever. When did the last one air? The 20th?
Yeah.
And this will go out the 30th, so 10 days after it airs?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's enough time. So, as a warning now, if you don't want spoilers for Picard Season 3, you haven't watched it, go binge it, then come back and listen to the episode.
Yeah.
So, I have not rewatched it. So I watched everything episode to episode as they aired. So my journey in this started back in February 16th.
Yeah. I watched all 10 episodes in 4 days.
Yeah. What'd you think?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, even like it was definitely like fan servicey for sure.
Yes.
The season, but it was well done.
I think the fan servicey, with the exception of some of the stuff in the last episode. No, not the last episode. Well, because even then it wasn't too much. I don't think they went too far with the fan servicey. Yes, it was a fan service explosion, but it wasn't done outside of the realm of the story. They weren't just doing it just for its sake. Like, for example, when they decided to, like, during the Star Wars reboot, when we had Chewbacca and Han Solo show back up, and they were the Millennium Falcon, and they were still doing, and that whole Chewie we're home thing. It did not feel like it was, as I don't like using the term realistic, but I'll use it, realistic to what those two characters would be doing 20 years or 30 years later. They're still smugglers. They're still doing the exact same thing. And it felt very off-putting for fan service. Like, oh, you like the Millennium Falcon. Here, let's dance around in that for a while. And this didn't feel like that. Even that last episode when they brought back out the D, it did not feel like they were just parading around the Enterprise D just because.
That's my new favorite phrase. When they brought back out the D. No, I think the hardest fan service part was when Seven was like looking at the ships and showing them to Jack. You know?
Yeah, when they first got to the Fleet Museum and we finally see Geordi, Seven and Jack were going through the ships and all that. When they first came out, okay, I don't know how we want to do this because we're going to jump all around and then we're going to go through it a little bit. But Yeah, I don't think the fan service was amazing. I think it fit so well in the storyline.
Yeah.
They didn't sacrifice story for fan.
Nope.
They managed to build it all in. And having, even some of the cameos that they brought back, Ro Laren coming in for a little bit, was spectacularly done. Unfortunately, they killed off Ro, but it was amazing. There near the end, Admiral Shelby, having Shelby come back into this whole thing, that was, I thought, well done as well. And those were two characters that I didn't think they would that would be brought backable for this, but they fit perfectly with what was going on.
Yeah. Having Tuvok.
Yeah, having Tuvok, and not just like having the not just having Changeling Tuvok, but actual Tuvok there at the very end with sitting down with Seven. But we'll get to that, I think. The season was built or felt built like it felt like the TNG movie we never got. Like, as nice as First Contact, Insurrection, Nemesis, as the high points and low points that those three movies were, they were never really a TNG movie. Those felt like where Star Trek movies ended up going, which became space action movies that happened to be Star Trek. Trek was not the core of those movies. It was space action, and they added Trek in for the world that the space action sat in. This felt like a 10-hour TNG movie. And it even the episodes and the way the story flowed gave you that, the intro and setup, and then the midsection gave you kind of the conflict and the issues, and then you have the ending with the payoffs, and it just felt like a continuous, well done movie.
Yeah. And I'm about 90% sure it was also a launch to the 7 to 9 show.
Star Trek Legacy, I think, is what they're calling it.
Yeah. I didn't know there was a name.
Yep. With 7, Raffi, and Jack. And I like that those three are really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was I loved there were small things that are throughout that I kind of caught up on and found and saw little Easter egg stuff. I don't know if how much of that you caught, but I think having that, in the very beginning when Raffi is trying to figure out who her handler is and is doing the whole thing with Starfleet intelligence, and it turns out to be Worf, and not only Worf, but this attempt at a kinder, gentler Worf, I thought was hilarious and well done.
Pacifist Worf.
Oh my God, it was hilarious.
Oh, dude, one of the funniest things in the whole show was when he dropped his sword and Riker goes to pick it up and goes, "Holy shit." It's heavier than I expected. Like he had a clear struggle like to pick it up.
And then Worf had just spent this entire scene slashing people out with his sword, and then pulls a phaser out of the hilt of it and hands it to Riker. And Riker's like, "You've had a phaser this entire time?" He's like,
"This the whole time." The
swords are fun.
That was so good.
How did you feel about the changelings being the initial protagonist? or antagonist rather?
Um, it was interesting. It was wild because I haven't watched Deep Space Nine in so long. Like,
Yeah.
I've watched a few episodes here and there since it came out, but I haven't really like watched it since it came out. So I was struggling to like remember anything about the Dominion War and any of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I thought it was a very good, and Amanda Plummer, who played um
Vedic.
what's her name? Vedic, yeah. I don't know if you know who Amanda Plummer is.
Yeah, we've seen her in a few other things.
Yeah, well, her dad was the plumber that was in Star Trek 6 as the bald Klingon with the eye patch. What was his hang on. Star Trek Plummer. Christopher Plummer.
Yeah.
Chang from Star Trek 6, Christopher Plummer. So that's her dad. I thought she was her, while the character was a kind of a generic villain character for them. And I'm not saying that in a bad way because she knocked it out of the park, but the character itself, it didn't feel like it was going to be. And you got to remember, I was watching it week over week. I felt like there was something bigger coming. I didn't think that she was going to be the final boss, if you will.
Yeah.
And so, but her and the whole idea of the changelings and the conspiracy and how far everything went, that was the story kept me rooted and it kept me glued. It was like, okay, this is truly, it's not just another, ranks in Starfleet have been compromised. We've seen a few episodes or runs of that happening, but this is the first time that it felt raw.
Yeah.
And I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah, taking the time to figure out how and why they did. And then all of a sudden it's like the last two episodes and they're like, surprise, the Borg.
But it wasn't just the Borg. Like, we've seen the Borg. So, and this has been my complaint from the Borg for a long time, right? Is when we initially saw the Borg in TNG, they were the unbeatable opponent. It took an active Q to solve everything. And then when they came back and turned, of Wolf, what happened at Wolf 359 or 359 and Picard having been assimilated, they felt strong, formidable. They felt like an actual foe that we had not seen before.
Yeah.
You start fast forwarding and, Voyager reintroduced into Borg from the Delta Quadrant, but it slowly became, the Borg became a villain of the week. They took the teeth out of the Borg. First Contact tried to put it back in, but it became kind of a mockery of the Borg. Like, even First Contact was, yes, they're powerful, yes, they have this scheme, but it never really felt like the danger that the Borg had been pretty much Wolf 359 and before. And then last season of Picard really took the Borg out of everything. This is the first time since mid TNG where I felt the Borg were super powerful again. It was the first time that I was like, oh shit, how is this going to work? Because this is not the Borg that we're used to. This is something else. And, having utilized the DNA for the transference and utilizing that into the replicators, not replicators, into the transporters.
Transporters, yeah.
And like the changeling imposter from the Titan was the transporter chief. And so you have people who are high up, or you have trans people who, you know, engineers that work on this, and they're the changelings installing this in. And with the age and all this stuff, it set things up so wonderfully. And oh my God, did Janeway put a beat down on that Borg? Because that's the Borg, you know, cannibalizing itself and hiding was all from what happened at the end of Voyager, when Janeway pretty much just tore them apart up and down.
Yeah.
And I have a whole new sense of respect over what happened there at the end of Voyager. Because my God, was that terrible.
Good. I need to go binge all of them again.
Yeah, I've had a lot of time to think about this stuff. I've had a lot of time to think about it. Some of the other fun things that I noticed, that like when President Chekhov came over and was talking to people, and it was Pavel Chekhov's son, but it's still,
Yeah.
you know, it was still voiced by Walter Koenig. The name of that character is Anton Chekhov.
Yeah.
Anton Yelchovich being, he played Chekhov, and so it was a very nice little nod to him. I thought that was well done. The way they brought Data back was perfect, and it also breathed new life into that character, combining Data, B4, and Lore into one. And so he's able to experience all the emotion stuff that Lore was able to experience, and what he tried to do with B4 and all of that stuff. I thought that was really, really nice.
Dude, and people talk about Jeffrey Combs and being like the all-star Star Trek actor. But dude, Brent Spiner fucking playing essentially the same character.
Yeah.
But so wildly different.
And it's changing just small minor things to make the character completely different and new.
Yeah.
Like chuckling about using contractions. Convincing Geordi to trust his gut, which is a callback from during the season, during somewhere in one of the seasons of TNG, where Geordi was saying something about following his gut and Data not understanding what that means, and Geordi trying to intellectually explain what following your gut means, and then having that recalled back and flipped of Data looking right at Geordi and saying, "Trust me, I trust my gut on this one." I thought that was a really nice little come around and nod back to TNG. And I don't know if anyone else caught that or not, but that one hit me hard.
Yeah, there was quite a few things that he said that really kind of caught me. The contraction one was the best. It's like,
Yeah.
did you say a contraction? It's like, you just said a contraction. No, I didn't. It said another one. It was like he didn't even notice the second one. He was just like, what?
That was just the chemistry of the Titan crew was phenomenal. Although I still think they killed off the best character out of that, though. And not talking about Shaw. Shaw is something else. We'll talk about Shaw in a minute. Because Captain Shaw, oh, what an amazing character he was. But the Vulcan that they killed, that Vedek killed when she was holding all of them hostage type thing.
Yeah.
Not since Tuvok to a small degree, but really not since Nimoy and maybe Savick from the Star Trek movies, the original series movies.
Yeah.
Have I seen a Vulcan so Vulcan-like, where there is a tinge of emotion, but still keeping the stoicism, using those eyebrows and the slight head movements to show that there is emotion there, but it's being suppressed, and what's coming out is just because so much of it's boiling over. I thought that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
That was yeah. Shaw was amazing.
Dude, it's such a great character.
And it made so much sense. Like being that pissed off at Picard. And Shaw was the everyday captain. I just want to do my job, protect my crew, and get home. He's not a run and gun guy. He rolls his eyes at that kind of stuff. And when it shows up at his doorstep, he's kind of pissed off about it. And between that and what happened at Wolf 359, which is, I thought was very interesting because Captain in DS9, and I can't believe my mind just went blank on who that was. God damn it. Anyway, Captain Sisko was also really pissed off at Picard at the very beginning of DS9. I know you haven't watched DS9 that often, and you should go back and rewatch it because it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
But in that very first one, there's a conversation between him and Picard, and you could tell that because of what happened at 359, Sisko was just bitterly angry at Picard, and that had just happened. Like it wasn't that far removed from Wolf 359 when they communicate. This Shaw had 20 or 30 years or whatever it was to have that run through his head and have that bitterness and that anger sit into the back, but was still there.
Yeah.
And I just thought that his attitude was, I have now a couple of cowboys that don't give a shit about rules, regulations, just showing up and wanting and expecting me to be just like them, and was not happy about it.
That was beautiful.
And then, but there at the very end, that holotape that Tuvok showed Seven before she got her promotion to captain. Oh, that freaking cut deep.
Yeah. That was great.
And then we have the Titan being rechristened as the Enterprise G, with 7 of 9 as the captain.
Yes, what happened to the F? Weren't they? I was wondering this.
So
like, okay, they're pulling the F out.
So in the data, and this is going to be a very deep cut, and I have this in one of my little bookmarks because I knew you were going to ask about this, and I actually have a legit answer. Give me just a second to find where this bookmark is. So when Ro gave Picard those files, and Picard and Riker are going through and looking at it, there was a screenshot where it has a picture of the Enterprise F and it says slated for early decommissioning. So back then they had already... Hang on, I can send you the screen grab, but I caught it and I grabbed a screen grab of it. But yeah, it was slated for early decommissioning. So Admiral Shaw being on there, that was going to be the last flight of the Enterprise F.
Huh.
And I know that sounds really weird and really, I may have watched some of these episodes a few times each week. There, I just sent it to you.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So that's what happened to the Enterprise F. I thought the joke they made about what happened to the Enterprise E was so quintessential TNG humor. When because they brought the D out, and I think it was Picard or someone said, well, we couldn't bring out the E. And then everyone looks over at Worf and he goes, that was not my fault.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
But they don't explain what the hell happened. They just leave it at that. And that was just perfect. Don't explain it. Just let it be. We might learn it about it later on. We might not. I don't know. But that was perfect.
Yep.
When Riker and Worf went down to go find Picard, but they knew they were going to lose, and went on the Borg cube, and they knew they were going to lose communication with the Enterprise when they did it. And Worf says to Riker something along the lines of, "Oh, good. I was afraid that today was not a day we were going to die," or something along like taking that. Perhaps today is a good day to die, and switching it out to be more of a matter of fact of we are going to die today now, and I'm happy we're going to finally die.
He said, I was beginning to worry that we would survive today.
Yeah, something like that. And I was like, oh my God, that was perfect. Yeah, I've been so much bouncing around and biting my tongue waiting to talk to you about this entire thing.
And Geordi, when Geordi said something to Picard, he goes, "Yeah, I sent you a bottle of Chateau Picard something," and Geordi goes, "Yeah, it was pretty tart and dry," and Picard goes, "That's because your taste in wine is pedestrian at best."
I know. Pulling in the clips from other shows for the Enterprise computer to be the original voice with Major Barrett.
Yeah.
That was kind of amazing. Like, it was hearing that voice again, and even Picard saying something about missing that voice, or it was Riker. One of the two said something about missing that voice.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I'm trying to think of some of the other stuff that I pulled out of here.
And I was like, it would have been funnier if Riker said that. And then like Picard was like, because she also played Luxana Troy, who was always after Picard. I was like, it would have been funny to reference that as well, but I get why they didn't.
Yeah. No, it was awesome. That Fleet Museum was so cool. There were so many little things in the Fleet Museum that were fun.
Yeah, that was awesome. Hey, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Your mama's so fat, her needs outweigh the needs of the many.
Why isn't Barbie ever pregnant?
That's not a what? It's not a Star Trek joke. What are you doing?
Fine, I won't give you the answer to it then.
Let's do that after we watch Barbie.
Ouch. So yeah, we go through all this stuff. You know, everything that happens, the Borg come back, they defeat the Borg, Enterprise zooming in and like drifting into place was fucking an epic shot.
That was beautiful.
And then they, you know, Shaw gets, or not Shaw, but Seven gets promoted to captain. They cut what her command word is going to be, which I thought was hilarious. Because like there's each captain has had a different phrase of what they say. You know, they all talk and then they say, you know, like Picard's was "make it so."
Yeah.
Kirk used "execute" a lot. Jellicoe from TNG on the Enterprise, he said "get it done." "Take us out" was also something that Kirk said that was kind of whatever. That was from Generations and kind of yeah.
Burnham's is "hit it."
Yes. That was that was, well, Captain Pike and Burnham have both used "hit it" a lot. Cisco used and Janeway used "do it." And Janeway did "do it" quite often.
Yeah.
And then there's, you know, "engage" and "make it so." But cutting off what Sevens is going to be, I'm really hoping that she does "do it," because that would be a really fun nod to Janeway.
I don't know. Christy yelled so hard at that part. She was like, "What the fuck? What?" And I was like, "Calm down.
We're getting another show. Don't worry.
It's not her show. Like,
Yep.
you won't see it because it's not her show. It'll
Yep.
be in her show." And she was like, "What? What?" And I was like, "That's fine. That's fine."
And then that ending shot of them sitting around playing poker, which is a great nod back to the finale of TNG, and letting the credits run while they're just playing poker. They felt like that didn't feel like it was something in a script. It felt like just old friends having fun, shooting the shit and talking about it.
Yeah.
And then Ensign Crusher 2.0, which, by the way, there's another Ensign Crusher on the Enterprise again. Just thought I'd mention that. But Jack cutting in at the tail end of the whole thing and having Jack Crusher having a visit from Q that blew my mind. Like, that was so perfect.
That was great.
And, you know, even just him even saying, you know, you humans think so linear for time or whatever. It was like, oh my goodness. Now I have to go back to season 2 of Picard and rewatch it so I can see if there's any comments or drops of anything in all the interactions with Q that we had last season, to see if there was anything that would set this up or even like passion. Because the events from Q's point of view, the events that happened in season 2 of Picard happened after the events that happened this very tail end of season 3 and whatever else that Q is going to bring in this new show. Because of the way time travelers work. Because if, you know, he was saying his final goodbyes in season 2 to Picard at the end of his life, that means everything that happened with Jack would have already happened to Q by the time he's saying his final goodbyes to Picard.
Well, not
Which
from his perspective.
From Q's perspective.
From Q's perspective, time isn't linear.
No. So him saying his goodbyes right before he dies in season 2 happens
At
so
the
much
same
later
time.
than it happens so much later in his lifespan than the events of the very tail end there of season 3 and whatever this next show is going to be. If Q returns, which I hope they do, because Delancey is so good.
No, it wouldn't be. No, because he doesn't. He said he doesn't. They don't experience time linearly.
Right, which is why season
So
2
it
would have
isn't.
happened after season 3
No, that would be making
to
it
Q.
linear.
No, it wouldn't.
That happened all at the same time.
No, linear
To
means
Q, linear means in a line.
yes, but no, linear is a straight line. The interactions, because there's still a beginning and an end for Q. And he does know when things had happened prior to, because he's refers to them before all throughout TNG and even events after.
But he also knows the things that
So
happen after because he refers to those too.
right, but because he can go and visit that. But his timeline is linear. It just isn't linear with everyone else's time. Because if he dies, then the events that happened would have happened before he died. God, time is such a weird thing to fucking talk about.
I don't think he dies.
I do. I think that was the end of Q. It just wasn't the end of Q for us.
I don't think that was the end. I think that was the end of Q for Picard. I think that was for Picard's sake and not anything else.
I'll have to go back through and rewatch. I gotta go back through and rewatch this shit too.
I don't believe that Q can actually die.
So years ago, I was part of a bulletin board style Star Trek role playing game.
Mm-hmm.
And I had gotten to the point where I was a game master, and I never actually put this in through a game, but I had written, and I found the other day all of my notes for a campaign in which the Q or the Borg somehow managed to accidentally assimilate a Q. And the absolute chaos that resulted from the Borg suddenly having all of Q's powers. I just thought it was fun.
I don't.
Can you imagine what would happen with that? That would be insane.
Yeah, let's just not.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, it looks like we're getting, not only are we getting a new show coming out, which I believe is Star Trek Legacy. Which is kind of insane. Apparently there's just some petitions that are just being, yeah. It's kind of crazy. And I'm hoping that it's going to be the same guy that produced this third series and not Kurtzman. Because Kurtzman is going to be doing the Starfleet Academy show, which I'm not quite sure about yet. I know that they finally have a lead writer, and it's the same person, I think lady, that wrote the new Nancy Drew television series stuff. So I'm guessing that Academy is going to be one of those shows that's kind of pushed more for teens or tweens age group. Don't know for that for sure, but that's what I would assume based upon who the lead writer is.
Hmm.
And then we'll be getting Star Trek Legacy, and then it also looks like we're going to be getting Star Trek movies every 2 years.
But will any of them ever have a theater release? Or are they just all going straight to Paramount Plus?
I don't know. I do know the first one they announced is Section 31 with
Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, Michelle Yeoh.
I'm pretty sure that said a movie experience for Paramount Plus.
Yeah, it'd be an event film instead of a series. Yeah, I'm not sure if that would go if they're going to do like a limited theater run, or if it's just going to be kind of a straight to Paramount Plus movie. Honestly, I wouldn't mind that. I'd love to go see another Star Trek film in the theater, but I don't know how much money they have to try to produce something like that out. I don't know.
I don't know. There's something about the theater experience.
No, there is. Strange New Worlds and Star Trek Lower Decks have been renewed for another season ahead of the new seasons that premiere. Star Trek Discovery will end with its 5th season in 2024.
Prodigy was renewed, right?
I don't know. Prodigy is kind of more set up for kids, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's designed that way. Obviously, us Trekkies will watch anything, but
yeah, it's because it's Nickelodeon rather than CBS.
And that's where Lower Decks is more of like a.
It's like a Cartoon Network.
Yeah, it's more of a. I would say Lower Decks is more like a Futurama. It's animated for adults.
Yeah. Adult Swim more than.
Yeah, it was more of like an Adult Swim type show. So, Strange New Worlds is phenomenal. Discovery is ending. They're starting the Starfleet Academy and Star Trek Legacy, it looks like. So Discovery and Picard end and are getting replaced with Academy and Legacy. And I don't remember where I saw this, where they're planning on doing a new movie every 2 years. Yeah. So it will be a movie to stream on Paramount Plus every 2 years.
Huh.
Is the plan.
Well,
And
at least I have the theater set up here.
Well, and I'm not sure there wouldn't be an opportunity to do that in certain theaters at some point. But it looks like that it looks like they're going to be starting it on Paramount Plus, I think, just to build more hype. And depending on how people react to them, they might do something. They might do something with doing theater releases. But the problem with theater releases right now is that unless you're dropping a blockbuster style, a theater release isn't going to be worth it.
No.
And
we're talking about Star Trek, though.
Yes.
And
Nemesis was a theater release.
Mm-hmm.
The absolute train wreck that was the Abrams movies were theater releases, and that's still on hold. So here's the
Abrams movies,
problem.
We all knew it was going to be a reboot, and we didn't want to participate in that. We said we want more in our regular universe. We don't want a new universe.
But I think there was a problem with this. And I think that was there's some licensing difference between Star Trek shows and Star Trek theater movies. And I don't think the CBS Paramount Plus and that merger solved all of that.
It was supposed to eventually rectify itself because they merged all of them, technically all of the things, into Viacom.
So well, in 2005, Viacom and CBS did CBS absorbed Paramount Television and Viacom absorbed Paramount Pictures. So CBS made Star Trek Discovery because that's where Paramount Television is where the Paramount Plus came from. Paramount Pictures all went to Viacom. So that's why, because it's television and movies are different, like film and how it's released and everything else. There's a whole cabal that runs everything. So CBS does not hold the rights to Star Trek motion pictures. They only hold the rights to Star Trek television shows. Because when Viacom and CBS separated, they broke up Paramount between Paramount Television and Paramount Pictures.
Yeah, but changing when it became Paramount Plus, that was the re-merger.
Not fully, because there were some sort of yes and sort of no.
Which is now called Paramount Global as of December 4th, 2019. Viacom, CBS, and Viacom were merged. And then in February 16, 2022, that's when it became Paramount Global.
Trying to look up and figure this out, because there is something with, well, I guess 2019. Paramount Global does hold the rights to both the television and film franchises of Star Trek, finally. So that was in end of 2019.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's no more Viacom. It's all
the company was officially
Paramount
rebranded
Global.
to Paramount Global from Viacom CBS on the 16th of February 2022. So that's fairly new. But I don't see anything where it talks about there's controlling interests. I don't know, because we haven't done anything with movies since they have everything together now. Because the final Abrams Star Trek movie, which I believe was Star Trek Into Darkness, right? No, there was one after that. Star Trek Beyond, that was 2016.
Yeah. So that was pre-merger.
So that was pre-merger, because it was distributed by both Paramount and Universal.
Mm-hmm.
And Star Trek 4, there was just nothing after that, because the Abrams verse was pretty much just the trilogy. And I kind of hope they don't reboot that up. But I don't know what would happen then.
Said they were going to do one more.
Yes, but it's been Star Trek 4 has been TBA forever because they can't get everybody back on board because of how expensive it is. I also think there's a I'm not sure how SAG works for payments, but I'm pretty sure there's a difference in pay structure for actors that work on TV shows versus TV movies versus like theater release movies. And I don't know what that would do with the budget for making some of these.
Yeah, I never thought about that.
Because there's probably something with the way SAG contracts work. SAG, for anyone that doesn't know, is the Screen Actors Guild. I don't know. I don't know, especially with Michelle Yeoh having just recently, I believe she just won an Oscar, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it would cost more to push out or if it would, I don't know. I don't know how that side of the movie and the television industry works. I know there's a difference, but I don't know how much of a difference there is because of streaming and everything else that goes on now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know what the cost related is to the two either. Because I've got a feeling it all boils down to money and recouping that money.
Yeah, and they don't really make. I don't know. It really sounds like nobody really makes money on big theater releases.
Unless it's a massive undertaking, not really.
Unless it's Disney.
I think gone are the days of having small movies and then having a 1, 2, or 3 big movies in the theater. I think that's pretty close to done. I think everyone just throws everything they can at theater releases now.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know how that side of the the movie and television industry work. Honestly, honestly, for me and because I don't go to movies anymore because they're expensive and there's other people. I haven't been to a theater since pre-pandemic. I have not gone back after, and I probably won't. I don't unless it's Star Trek. I don't know if I'll ever go back to the theater. I will go see Star Trek, but unless it's Trek, I don't think I ever will.
We go back. We go like during the day, like early.
Yeah.
It's usually empty.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. There's like one other person that doesn't sit anywhere near you. Awesome. Great experience. 10 out of 10. Recommend. Hey, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Your mama's so ugly, even the Nagus made her put clothes on.
I don't have any Star Trek dad jokes.
Oh, I only have Star Trek disses. I don't even really have dad jokes. I got your mama jokes in the Star Trek world. So I'm gonna be brutalizing on your mom. Love her though. So, what did you think of What did you think of them using? I'm pretty sure that was the blaster beam that they used for the sound of the Shrike.
Yeah, the Shrike was phenomenal.
Yeah, the I just kept thinking about V'ger though, and I was like, damn it! But like that instrument is so fucking. It's
Overused.
so specific of a sound.
Yeah,
It's
I thought it was good. I thought the use of portals was phenomenally awesome. I was like, we have a massive portal guns are now Star Trek canon, and I'm here for it.
But that noise, the sound, every time it would show like that big,
yeah,
like the big sweeping thing, it kind of drove me crazy because I was just like, damn it, why? Why is this your? I know why you're using this, but why do you have to keep using this sound? It sounded beautiful though. The soundscapes of the, oh my god, dude. The
yep.
the ship, the pings in the ship, like the sound engineering of the show was freaking amazing. Like hearing just like some of the little things behind you that you would have never noticed going on if it wasn't behind you.
Yeah.
Ridiculously well done.
Everything this season of Picard was as close to perfect for a continuous like arch, like a season-long arch. It is the perfect season since they've started doing season-long arches.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down. Better than anything Discovery's come out with. Strange New Worlds is fairly episodic, so I'm not counting that because Strange New Worlds, Jesus Christ, that's a whole nother conversation. But since New Trek has kind of come out, we've had 4 seasons of Discovery and 2 seasons of Picard prior to this that have pretty much just nothing but season-long story arcs. And I think easily this one is better than that and better than most seasons of old Trek.
Have you watched Prodigy yet?
I haven't watched a lot of Prodigy. I need to watch a lot more of it.
Dude,
it's one thing I have not sat down and watched a whole lot of yet.
It's great. It is great. And it's cool because it gives you some knowledge of what Janeway's up to, which I think might explain why she wasn't in Picard. So I don't want to like spoiler it because it's really well done, but it also touches on some other topics that the other shows are touching on too.
Okay.
And it's like slow developing across the whole season, and like each episode, like there's a big overarching story, but then there's also like, I don't really want to say it's episodic. It's like serial episodic.
Yeah.
With still a long overarching story.
I think New Worlds was kind of like that too, where you had like, I think there was, in that first season, there were 2 kind of like long going background storylines, and USA Network did that with a lot of their shows when they had like their USA Network originals. I'm thinking like Burn Notice and a couple other Suits and a couple of other shows did that, where they had a season long arc, but each episode, while it contributed to the season long arc, they were also extraordinarily outstanding individual episodes. So if you jumped in the middle of a season at any time, you could enjoy it without feeling like you have to do 9 hours of back watching or something like that. It's like that blend of the two long arcs as well as being very episodic, so that you can kind of fit in and plug and play wherever you wanted to, and you wouldn't lose out. You'd lose out some of the story, but enough of the story is be there that you feel satisfied watching it.
Yeah. Supernatural, I think, did a pretty good job of that too.
Yeah. So I think it was well. I think that's a fun way of doing it, but I think that I see the argument for strictly episodic, like the original series was, and TNG, like those. Even Voyager was kind of like, there's long arcs with individual monster of the week episodes, if you will.
Yeah.
And I don't mind that. I find that surprisingly comforting.
Yeah, you still want some long-term goal. You still want you don't want a reason to not have to come back next week.
Yeah.
I was just thinking like Supernatural. Supernatural did it a little extra because they had 5-season long like story arcs as well as season long story arcs, and then they would have in the season like 1 episode stories, or like with 3 to 4 episode stories going along inside of them, as well as like half season stories. And Supernatural is like, it's a soap opera 100% through and through. It's amazing. And that is only amplified by the fact that once you start watching it and you start looking at the people, and then you go and see what the other people did in the show, and you click on every single actor, and it's like, oh, he was in General Hospital. Oh, that guy was in Days of Our Lives. Oh, she was on The Young and Restless. Like literally every single person, soap opera peoples.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that this not only geared me up for wanting to talk about Star Trek a lot more, but I think it's also going to be good to kind of, we don't have a definitive date of starting yet, and I think I just need to make one. But I think this will be a good place to leave this off, and we will see you guys when we start doing a Star Trek specific podcast.
Well, and speaking of dates, your mama's so old, her forehead used to be flat.
We don't talk about that. It's a sensitive. That was addressed in DS9. Worf addressed that in DS9.
Yep.
It was hilarious.
That was great.
Because they went back to the Tribbles episode of TOS. And they tried to sort of explain it in, I believe that was season 1 of Discovery, if memory serves.
Yeah.
They talk about it a bit. But
yeah, it's okay. I'd rather that just be a mystery.
Go watch Star Trek Picard season 3. It's a fucking phenomenal series this season.
I did.
It was. I'm telling everybody else.
You just. Oh.
I'm wrapping up, Brian.
Okay.
Oh, and the punchline from the earlier joke. He comes in a different box.
What was the joke? I forgot what you said already. Barbie.
Yeah,
Something about Barbie.
Why isn't Barbie ever pregnant?
Oh, dude.
Because Ken comes in a different box.
Hey, so quick side note. Go look at all of the Barbie posters
No, I'm good. I have a friend that's been flooding me with them, and it's terrifying.
It's hilarious. Like, read what's on the posters with each of the characters. It's hilarious.
I think the only reason why, outside of it being Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, which I think is fucking hilarious,
Yeah.
I think that it not taking itself, like, they're very much tongue in cheeking this thing completely over the top, is it would be the only reason why I would go watch this. I would watch this at all, because it does not look like it's going to be taking itself as seriously as they could go with it.
It looks like it's going to be spending the whole time making fun of Barbie and that the whole thing.
I'm
Looks
kind of
like
hoping it's that way, but I don't know. We'll see. When does that come out?
I don't know.
July 21st.
Okay.
I'm
July-
not going. I am
July
not spending the
20th.
money. I am not spending the money to go see that in the theater. Sorry.
Come up and we'll go. We'll go.
You're
here.
you're
We'll
gonna
go
make
here.
me go see it in the fucking theater, aren't you?
You started it. Coming into Star Trek episode of the Barbie joke.
I did in the middle, and I didn't finish it until the end.
That's what she said.
Go watch Picard season 3.